I've had some people complaining that the shows I covered in the past episodes were not overlooked or forgotten. So I figured this week I would present some really obscure shows. Here's 5 shows that you probably didn't know existed. What a Country! What a Country was a series that was based on the British sitcom Mind Your Language from 1977. It was ported to America as a way to capitalize on the surprise success of comedian Yakov Smirnoff. Smirnoff's real name was Yakov Pokus. He was born in Odessa, Ukraine in 1951 when it was still part of the Soviet Union. In the 1970s, he became a stand-up comedian. After doing shows in the Soviet Union, he encountered Americans, and after learning about life in the USA, he decided to try to move there. He came to the US in 1977 with his parents and started doing comedy under the name Yakov Smirnoff. He previously worked as a bartender and chose the name Smirnoff because of the vodka, and because it was a foreign name Americans would be familiar with. Yakov's stand-up was largely about the differences between life in America versus life in the Soviet Union. He moved to LA in the 80s and managed to land some small roles in movies like Moscow on the Hudson and Brewster's Millions. In 1986, he was offered the lead, more or less, of his own sitcom, What a Country. The name of the show comes from Yakov's catchphrase,
What a country!
What a Country premiered on September 27, 1986. It was shown in first-run syndication across numerous channels. The show was about a class of legal immigrants trying to pass their citizenship test. Yakov played Nikolai, a Russian taxi driver. Others in the class included a Hungarian doctor, the son of an African king, and a very shy Chinese woman. Garrett Brown played the teacher, who was originally trying to get a coaching job, but ended up as the teacher here because he really needed the work. Initially, he planned to only be a substitute, but after bonding with the class, he decided to stay and help them learn more about the country. The show ran for 1 season with 26 episodes when they decided to pull the plug. The last episode aired on May 23, 1987, but it continued on in reruns long afterwards. On July 4, 1986, the same year as the show, Smirnoff passed his test and became an official U.S. citizen. He's currently running his own dinner theater, where he boasts that he has real linen napkins. What a Country has never been released on DVD. It's not available for streaming, but it looks like most of the episodes are on YouTube. Otherworld. Otherworld's about a family touring the Great Pyramid of Giza that are accidentally transported to an alternate dimension or another world. Otherworld premiered on January 26, 1985 on CBS. In the series, the family are transported to the planet called Thel. While the planet's inhabited by humans, their way of life is completely different than the lives of humans on Earth. Instead of countries, there are zones, and in each zone the people live very differently. It's eventually discovered the humans on the planet may have been created by androids, and they also float the possibility that Thel could be either an alternate version of Earth or a completely new planet. Each episode revolves around the family trying to survive in different zones while looking for a way back home. They're being chased by the evil Commander Kral because the family stole his high-security access crystal in the pilot episode. The show had some lofty ideas, but it didn't really catch on with audiences at the time. It ran for 1 short season with 8 episodes, and the last one aired on March 16, 1985. The show was picked up by USA Network, which had it in reruns, and then handed it off to its sister channel, the Sci-Fi Channel. Considering it ran for years in reruns, more people saw it that way than when it initially aired. Otherworld has never been released on DVD, it's not available for streaming, but the entire series is on YouTube. Home Free. Home Free is a sitcom about a 22-year-old journalist living at home. The show stars Matthew Perry as the lazy main character, Matt. Wow, he really did a lot of failed shows before Friends. The show also stars Dan Schneider as his best friend, and Brooke Thies from Just the 10 of Us. The show premiered on March 31st, 1993 on ABC. They put the show in a very coveted time slot, Wednesdays at 8:30. This put it between The Wonder Years and Home Improvement. Even with the time slot, the show still underperformed. After 5 episodes, they put the show on hiatus. They brought it back on May 28th and put it in the 9:30 slot in an even more coveted spot, in ABC's TGIF block. They ran 6 more episodes in the TGIF block, and the show did so poorly, they canceled it before the series was over. They filmed 13 episodes, but with the ratings they were getting, ABC canceled the series and they never aired the last 2. Almost every episode was directed by James Widows, who was Robert Hoover in both Animal House and the TV series Delta House. Widows directed episodes of Just the 10 of Us, which probably was the reason for the addition of Brooke Thies in Home Free. I sure hope they kept Schneider away from her feet. The show's never been released on DVD, it's not available for streaming, but most of the episodes are on YouTube. Chopper Squad. Chopper Squad's an Australian TV series about a helicopter rescue team operating on Dee Beach in Sydney. The pilot was shot in 1976 and aired on November 5th, 1976 in Melbourne, and later in Newcastle in August of 1977. It sat on a shelf for a while until it was picked up for a full series in 1978. The series premiered on November 5th, 1978 on Australia's Network 10. While the show started on the Dee Beach, it eventually moved to Palm Beach Surf Life-Saving Club, which was one of the largest clubs in Sydney's northern beaches. With a gap between the pilot and the series, 3 of the main cast from the pilot did not return for the series. The show ran for 2 seasons with 27 episodes, including the pilot. The last episode aired on February 18th, 1979. The show has never been released on DVD, and it's not available for streaming. The pilot's on YouTube, but I can't find anything from the rest of the series. While the show is largely forgotten, it's been rumored that it was a major influence on one of the biggest shows of all time, Baywatch. The shows are different, but you can definitely see some of the similarities. Dog and Cat. Dog and Cat was not a show about animals, but rather about a detective who is teamed up with a rookie female officer. The term dog and cat comes from an old 70s slang referring to male and female partners on the force. Dog and Cat premiered on March 5th, 1977. With the mature subject matter, the show aired 10 p.m. Saturday nights. This allowed them to cover more controversial topics. The show starred Lou Antonio as Sergeant Ramsey, and a very unknown ex-model, Kim Basinger, in her first lead role. Lou Antonio was one of the half-black, half-white aliens in the classic Star Trek episode, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. Basinger was a model who at the time was trying to move into acting. Before this, she had small parts in TV shows like The $6 Million Man and Charlie's Angels. Dog and Cat was criticized for being a ripoff of both Beretta and Charlie's Angels. The series was created by the legendary producer-writer-director Walter Hill, who is responsible for The Warriors, Streets of Fire, and tons of others. The ratings for the show were horrible, and if not for the short season, the show would have still ended early. Dog and Cat was canceled after 7 episodes, with the last one airing on May 14th, 1977. Show's never been released on DVD, it's not available for streaming, and aside from a few clips, it's not available on YouTube, which to me is really surprising considering some of the stuff that is on there. That's another 5 shows. Yes, I'm sure some of you are familiar with at least one of these, but you have to admit, they are still very obscure for most people. Lots more to come. Stay tuned.
He was right first time.
Pay no attention. He doesn't like Russians.
They invaded my country 1956.
Boy, does this guy holds a grudge.